This is just really to recap. We've been talking about reaching your financial freedom goals, and it's a personal thing. What are your goals? Where do you want to be, and what do you want to be able to live in your future? So we're just going to end off today by having a look at how much is enough, how do you close your circle, how do you be content with what you have, and how much do you really need? Summing up, really consider earning more income if you can, when you can. And if you're desperate, you'll get creative. There are ways of actually generating more income. Just be a little cautious about sacrificing your time so that you are doing that to the detriment of your family if it's going to be a long-term thing. All right, obviously don't accumulate new debt. And then a big thing is be content with what you have. All right, we've spoken about living up to the Joneses and wanting more and getting increases and upscaling. So that whole lifestyle there's a big gift in learning to be content with where you're at. And I think that's where lockdown was good, because we learned to be content with what we had at home. Some families it was a disaster, but most people actually learned I can live with less. Or what happened with some people, I believe that afterwards there was a huge rise in the home improvements, because people were living at home and suddenly realized, oh, I didn't like that, or I wanted to extend that, or now we're living at home more, so we want to extend the living area or build another bedroom or whatever. So that's what happened. But all right, obviously to make it work more quicker, consider radical changes. It's a short term if you've got to sell your house or your car. People don't like to do that, but if it means getting out of debt quicker and getting to your goals quicker, maybe it's worth that short-term sacrifice. And then don't give up. It's easy when things are going okay and you're both on board and you're making progress, but sometimes you just get into that place where you're just pulling out and then something happens. And we've been on that roller coaster ride, especially in these last 18 months. So dig your heels in and just don't give up. Keep going, because you know that there is going to be light at the end of the tunnel. There is a better future. And then celebrate. Celebrate the small achievements and the small goals, and then celebrate your debt-free day and then every goal that you reach. It's all very well aiming towards our financial freedom and knowing that we don't want to work on the treadmill for the rest of our lives, but it's also important to know what is enough, how much is enough. And people just keep earning and saving and investing and not knowing what they're working towards. And so that just gives you that compulsion to keep working, keep earning, and never be satisfied or never be content or happy. So I like to call it closing your circle and knowing how much is enough. And obviously we have our needs, right? In your circle there, we've got needs. And what are some of your needs? Place to live, yeah. Food, your safety and your security, basically. And anything that you need. All right. Then we've got a few things that we want or we desire, and that might be, okay, not just a car to get us from A to B, but a nicer car, or one that's not going to break down too often, or a holiday. Okay, things that are nice. You want to go on a rafting trip or a art exhibition, show, whatever the case might be. So things that are nice to have that you can short-term save for. All right, and then we've got dreams. All right, so it's good to dream, but it's important to know what do you need, how much financially do you need to meet your needs. Then if you're going to say, okay, what are my desires, if I'm going to include that, and that's how you work out what your financial freedom number is. So there are different levels of financial freedom. So your first step is obviously getting debt-free or losing your debt. But to be financially free, what it means is that you've got a lump sum of money sitting in an investment or investments where the interest is paying you enough to live the lifestyle that you want. So you can be financially free living on the streets because you don't have debt, you don't have expenses. So if you cut your lifestyle down a lot, you don't need a lot of money to live. Okay, so living on the streets maybe not financially free because you don't have income in. You've got to rely on other people to help you there. But you can cut your lifestyle down, live a very simplified life, and not need a lot of money for your monthly expenses. So the bigger your expenses are, the more you need to live on every month, the bigger your need is going to be, the harder it is to reach that financial freedom number. So there is a calculation to work out what your financial freedom number is. And it's to take your annual expenses or your monthly expenses and multiply by 12. So start with your monthly expenses. And then you can start with the level of what are our monthly expenses for what we just need to survive. All right, so if you know now that you're getting X amount of income and that is not getting you into debt, you manage to pay all your expenses and have a little bit of savings aside, how much is that? Then the next level is say, okay, we actually also like to have a few more luxuries and go on holiday, so then you would need to build those into your annual expenses. And then, okay, we're going to get out there eventually, but if you really want to live that high lifestyle or to be able to travel the world, do what you want, when you want, and have an unlimited, then you've got to put a number to that. Even that has a cost. Bill Gates can do whatever he wants. He's earning, in a day what we would be earning in our lifetime. But he's still got a number that he needs to survive on, and he's got more money than he can spend in his lifetime, but he also has high expenses, and he's donating some money and that type of thing. So even the wealthy people have a number that they know how much they need, where they can live off the interest and not have to work or depend on their income to survive. All right, so just an exercise that you can do is say, okay, let's just start with our needs. And let's say you need $20,000 a month to survive, which gives, and you multiply it by 12, 240,000. All right, then you divide that number by 0.08 or 8%, and I'll tell you why now, and you end up with 3 million. All right, so once you've got 3 million aside in an investment that's getting about 10% interest, you will be able to live off the interest. You will be getting 20,000 a month without touching this 3 million. So you will not be eating into the capital, which means you can then survive for infinite time. We've talked about your time value, so your 3 million in 20, 30 years' time is not going to be worth what it is now. But what you do with the money that you're spending built into this 20,000, you're still putting 10% into savings and 10% into investing, so you kind of counteracting inflation. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea. And it might seem like a big number now, but you've got 10, 20, 30, sometimes 40 years to save that amount of money. Obviously, if your living expenses are including your desires and you've got 40,000, you're going to need, your living expenses are 40,000, you're going to need 6 million. So it gives you an idea of what you're working towards. And if you work out what you're putting in, if you're investing with compound interest, it's very doable to get to that figure. Sometimes people look at that and think, oh, it's way too hard. But it's possible once you've got no debt. And also, your needs change. You don't have children, so then your expenses reduce, and life changes. Your expenses will reduce as you get older unless your lifestyle's increased. And that's why it's important to understand, what am I content with? What am I happy with? And then once you've got that amount, to be happy with that. Learn to be content. And then you can live happily with what you think you need and get joy out of giving the excess, because then you will be getting excess away. All right, and then obviously we want to also, if we've got family, we want to leave a bit of inheritance, which we mentioned a little bit earlier. And so that also allocates for that, because then we're living on our interest from our investment, and we can leave that lump sum to our children if you're wanting to leave an inheritance for your children, which I do. All right, so just to finish off, we started at the beginning saying you need to know why, what's your reason. And so it really all starts with your mind and not with actually your income and your expenses and the strategies and the systems and the ways of doing it. So hopefully now you've got some tools to know how to work out, how to budget, how to start putting a bit of money away and what to work towards. But a lot of it starts with what we're thinking. and how we see this whole thing. And I think your mindset is so important. Really, you need to start controlling your thoughts about your abundance mentality or poverty mentality, about it's hard, I'm fearful of money, I can't do it, I'm in such a bad position because I've lost my job, I've got no income. We can have all of those negative thoughts, and it's not going to do us or our family or our future any good. So you can control your thoughts. Sometimes it's difficult, but we have the power to control that thought process within us and say, okay, I'm not going to think about that. And when you start thinking negative things, put your mindset onto something positive. No one can put you down unless you agree, and you get to a point, maybe it's my age, but I don't really mind what people think of me anymore. It used to really change a lot of what I did, and I did a lot of things for other people or because of what they would think of me. But now it doesn't really matter. Now I work to please God, and if I'm happy with that, it doesn't really matter what other people are thinking. All right. Take accountability for your own actions. You are accountable for what you do. And when you take ownership of that, then moaning about not having a business or having income or losing another client, the onus is on you. So it's easy to blame COVID, but COVID's not going to come and fix you. All right. So unfortunately. And then it's all about what story are you telling yourself. You can empower yourself and become a better person by telling and changing your story. Often we look at the past and we get hit up on the past and we blame our background, our past, what happened to us and the tough times we had for where we are now. The only person that's going to be able to change that is you. All right, so change your story and you will change your future. Self-talk is also really, what are we telling ourselves? I can't do it, I don't have any financial acumen, I've never learned how to budget, my parents never taught me how to save properly. All of that type of thing, that self-talk or what we tell ourselves, either can bring us up, we can be positive and increase your confidence, or you can bring yourself down with it. So that's a very crucial role in this whole thing about your finances. And what you're telling yourself is obviously going to portray to other people as well. And those around you are going to pick up those vibes, especially your kids and your family. So try and eliminate negative and bring in more positive. And if you're conscious of that when you're thinking negative things, change those. All right, make it a habit. And the last thing we're going to just have a look at here is just creating some positive habits. Our habits really create who we are and what we do. And if we recognize there are some negative habits in our lives, we can change them and become positive habits. And what I've really learned in the last few years is that just changing small habits, one at a time, can actually make a huge impact on your lifestyle, on your life, and in terms of finances and your savings and things. So just a few positive habits that I'd like you to look at there is to set life goals, know where you want to be, if you don't know. Create and stick to a budget, that's a good habit to form. Pay off your credit cards, all right? Make that a habit. If you're not in, that's the first thing that you can start doing, is that if you have credit cards and you're going more and more, make sure that you're paying it off every month. Create automatic savings. Okay, it's easy to do once it's automated. Start investing, right? Avoid debt, invest in yourself, be generous. Okay, try and have proper maintenance of your finances, your budget, your savings plans and things. Spend less than you earn. Know your why. What is your bigger reason, which we started with today, is why do you want to become or learn more about finance or manage your money better, make your money grow for you? And it's not just to be debt-free. I hope you realize now, it's not just so that you can have more money. Maybe it's because you want to retire to Croatia with your family and live in a home there. And if that's a big dream of yours, visualize it, picture it. Picture your children growing up, having gone through good schooling and good tertiary education, and you retire in a beautiful little spot and you're happy. You're with your love of your life, you're sitting on the balcony every morning, reading the newspaper or the whatever. Just imagine that that's the lifestyle you want to create for yourself, or whatever the reason is. Maybe it's because you want to retire your folks early, or whatever. You might want to own a yacht and sail the world, but have a reason why picture it and visualize it. And then there's something called Gestalt. I don't know if you've heard of that psychological term, is that this is where you are, this is where you want to be, this is your current reality, and you don't need to know how you're going to get there. But if you know why, then you create a dissonance, an uncomfortable feeling, so that if this vision is big enough, you will start moving towards that vision. And your choices and your lifestyle and the things that you do will move you in that direction. So it's a positive pull. And you do that by creating little habits and making small changes to your lifestyle to get where you want to be. All right. And then, of course, health is something that we all take for granted. I've certainly realized this last 5 weeks, not being able to do as much exercise as I want and just being constantly aware that my body is fatigued. So we take our health for granted. So look after yourselves, look after your health. You can't really be much benefit to other people if you don't look after your health. I have a 66-day challenge list I'm going to give you when you go. You can put it up on your fridge, and every day you align to your savings, it's fine. You can tick it off, and after 66 days, that habit should be firmly entrenched and easier to do. And so once you've done your 66 days, then you can start your next challenge. And if we just make those small tweaks to our lifestyles, and especially taking away a negative habit and putting in a positive habit, then it just makes it easier. Will you call out that number? And Julie just writes it up on the board so that every note has a number.
The entire number?
Yes, yeah.
AP
A.
AP 922027B.
Okay, thank you, Beulah. All right, so we've got choices. What most of us do with our money actually is just like use it and throw it away, and we don't actually value it. So how many of you do that with your money, that you actually, at the end of the day, you don't know what's happened to it? It's almost like you say, oh, my money's all gone, I don't know what happened to it. Where did my money go? And how many of you are feeling a little bit anxious now? That we're burning. There's 20 rand in here.
That's 20 bucks in there.
That's almost a cup of coffee, isn't it? So,
2 chocolates.
so there you go. I can see some people are really upset about what's happening here. But in reality, that's what we're doing. We often let money just go. We don't know what's happened to it. At the end of the month, we say, I've got no money if I don't know what happened to that money. And that's really, it's like burning or throwing it in the toilet and getting rid of that without knowing where it went. All right, so if we're wise with our money, what we'll do is let it grow for us on the tree. I want you to just check and make sure that that's a real orange. You can just have a look and so she can see there that...
I want to smell it.
Yeah. Okay. No cubby holes, no anything. So
Nope.
all right, cut it in half for us, please. All right, so we want to be wise and put money away so that one day when we are picking our fruit, we'll realize there's something inside. Take it out.
This feels like a Leonchester movie.
Okay. All right, and read out the number there.
No. AP 922027B.
What you learned today is not only going to give you the money, it's going to duplicate that. So in 10 years' time, when you cut your orange trees or your plants open, you've got twice as much. All right, so it's just being aware with our thank you to all the volunteers. All right, and it's those habits. Are we going to form habits where we're throwing money away and not valuing it? Or we're going to form habits where we put it away, let it grow for us, save it, and know that in the future we're going to benefit from that. All right, so we have spoken about your why. You need to have a big enough reason, and that's where it all comes down to it. Because when things get hard, if your big enough reason is there, your vision is there, you're going to move towards that vision instead of checking out when things get tough. And I know they will get tough. All right, so what is your purpose? It also knows, and then, know who you want to become once you down the line. Do you want to be the same person you are today in a year's time or 5 years' time? Know what kind of a person you want to be and what kind of a lifestyle you want to have. Just last thing, just keep a journal. Try and track things if you can. I never used to journal, but it's useful. It's so useful now going back and seeing 5 years ago, this is what my plans were. I mean, they changed radically overnight without knowing it, but it does help. If you not want to write down, just put down point forms or just put a few things down, a few thoughts down, especially they're important to you. Something happens when you write it down. So if you have a goal to pay off your home loan in 5 years instead of 10 years, write it down. That's what we did, and it became a reality. All right, so where do we go to from here? You can leave today and not look back on this and not make any changes, and today would have been nice food and a nice atmosphere and a day off work, but nothing will change. So the reality is that unless you take action, and the more uncomfortable action you take, the more you're going to make a change in your lifestyle. So from here, know that you're going to do a few things, all right? So we've got a habit that we're going to change, but go and complete your budget and balance it. And if you're working in a family or a partnership, go and have a look at that and work it together and see what it is. If you are working multiple budgets in one household or different expenses, work together so you know what his are and what yours are, hers are and yours are. So at least you're on the same base platform and you're working towards your goals together. And then know where you want to be. You can create a plan, how you're going to pay it off, how you're going to reduce your debt and stuff, and then try and stick to it. And that's really all that you need to know about your finances. And if we knew that when we were 21, we would be in a very different situation now. So hopefully you can start now just to put a plan together, have some goals, and to know that there's hope. And I hope I've given you that today.